Hey everyone out in VC land, it's Matt. I thought I'd do a video and talk a little bit about my adventures at a record show today. Went to one and it's kind of a big deal. Had a had a kind of a mixed reaction to the my experience there, but it's kind of a big deal just because I had first one I've been to in forever. I'd been to, they were called Beetle Fest back in those days. Been to a couple of those, and that was like an ice age ago. And about it's more than 10 years, probably closer to 15 years or so ago, for a couple of 2 or 3 years, some group put on record conventions out in Dallas 2 or 3 times a year. And I remember going to some of those, and those were pretty fun. But they just, I don't know, went out of business or decided not to do it anymore. So for the past 15 or so years, as far as I know, there haven't been any record shows in the Fort Worth and Dallas area, which is kind of surprising given that you're talking about 3-4 million people in the area. But um, now I do know I've always meant to go to, and I just never have gotten around to it yet. They have the Austin Record Show. I think it's only once a year. It might be twice a year, and that's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, record show in America. And that's a real big deal with thousands of people, and it attracts vendors from all over the U.S. and the world, and a huge deal. And I just haven't gone down there to attend that, and one of these days I will. But so it's nice to get another record convention in the area. A month or two ago, I saw on Facebook this group called the dFW Dallas Fort Worth Record Show was going to be at the Hearst Convention Center today. Hearst is a city that's kind of sort of in between Dallas and Fort Worth, and so that's what I went to. And it's kind of odd that for 10-15 years there was nothing in the way of record shows in the area, and now apparently we have two of them. Because I saw these all over the place, and I thought these were just flyers advertising themselves. But I was talking to the guys that do the dFW record show, and there's a couple of friends that decided to start doing a record show out at the convention center there. And so that's the dFW record show, but this is actually the Dallas record show, which is coming up in April. And the dFW record show people were telling me that they and these people are friends, and so they don't mind promoting one another. So anyway, this Dallas one's going to have, says here, more than 100 tables of vinyl CDs and memorabilia. So the one I went to today, the dFW record show, was, they were telling me this is only the second time that they've done it, and they do it every they plan to do it every 6 months. So kind of, give them a break because they just started. So I guess word is not out yet that they're here. So there was maybe like 10 to 15 tables. I'm trying to picture the room now, but there wasn't. I don't think there was more than 15 tables of vendors out, and steady but moderate crowd of people in there looking at the records and buying records. So I'm hoping that they did well enough to keep doing it. Because it's neat to have, and I hope that it grows into something. But I guess it's just sort of getting started now. But it was still fun to go out there and look around, and that was really my intention. I did get a few albums I'll show here in a bit, but I wasn't. There were a few things that I went out there hoping to find. I only found one of the things that I wanted, but I wasn't really looking to spend money. I was just kind of thinking it'd be fun to go out and spend the day looking through records more than anything, because I really don't have a lot of money to be spending right now. But what did surprise me, because I remember going to the Dallas shows, years ago, there was, at this show today, there was very little in the way of memorabilia, just music-related promotional pieces and rock and roll magazines and books and Beatle toys and stuff. There was hardly any of that at all. There was I think there was only one table that had any CDs, which was kind of surprising. I wasn't really looking for CDs or anything, but I just kind of happened to notice that, because and they had that table had box after box after box of albums, and then they just had these two little boxes about yay big of CDs, and I glanced through those, and it was a bunch of bands I never heard of. Um, so I thought that was kind of interesting. But the bad thing about it, I thought, was that of the and there was, as far as the vinyl, there was almost, or very little of the rare stuff, the collectible stuff, which, even though I'm not really in position to be buying stuff like that now anyway, that's always fun to look at, even if you don't buy it, just to see it. I didn't see any butcher covers or original copies of the Wedding album, or very few picture sleeves or anything like that, rare Elvis or anything. Most of the records, I'd say probably 30–40% of the records were new records, which, I mean, a lot of those were new presses, so a lot of that was reissues of old albums, but it was new stuff, and then some newer released albums, and then the the bulk of the rest of it was just used albums, which sounds great, and it was fun to look through the boxes and the crates. A lot of junk in there, a lot of good stuff in there, but the problem with the used albums, by and large, there were some things in good condition, but most of the stuff in there was just really poor, beat to hell condition, and the prices were ridiculous. I mean, I know that the dealers knew they had a captive audience of record collectors, so they probably, charge accordingly. But there was a lot of that stuff that was just really beat up, that wasn't anywhere near what they were wanting for it. They were wanting, in the 15, 20, 30, $40 range, and some of these albums just looked like they, anything was Beatles was automatically in the $40 to $70 range, and a lot of those albums looked like they'd been run over by a truck and just weren't anywhere near that worth that. And so that was one of the things that I was hoping. Um, I kind of thought maybe I might not even buy anything. I might just go out there and look around and have fun. But I was also thinking, look around and maybe fill in some of the gaps in my solo Beatles album collection. I have quite a few that I'm missing in George and Ringo, and not as many John and Paul that I'm missing. But I mean, I was hoping to pick up some of the odds and ends things, and didn't find a whole lot of the solo stuff. But I saw a copy of All Things Must Pass, which I already have, but and that thing looked like it had been run over, set on the train tracks, and I think they were wanting $50 for it or something. Um, but I saw some of the George and Ringo albums and a couple of Johns that I didn't have, but they just were not in very good shape. And or if they were, they just wanted way too much for them. Cloud Nine, I saw a copy of that was in pretty good shape, but they were wanting like $35 for it, and I could find that for a lot cheaper than that. And there was a copy of 33 and a Third that I considered, but it just wasn't in very good shape, and it wasn't, the price on it wasn't terrible, but it just wasn't in very good shape. So anyway, I was kind of disappointed that there wasn't more. I seem to remember when I went to the record shows, a decade or whatever ago, that there was a lot more stuff. The stuff tended to be in pretty good shape to near mint shape. They might have a box of crap that was marked down to $1 over there you could ruffle through, but um, the records tended to be in better shape, and there tended to be a lot more um, collectible and neat, kind of one of a kind things. And so there wasn't much of that at all out there today, unfortunately. But the people were really friendly. I was talking to some of the dealers. I also noticed there was, like I said, there was one guy that was from St. Louis, I believe, and he travels around to record conventions. But the rest of the people that I was talking to, they were all from the area, from Dallas or Fort Worth, or the mid cities. So I guess maybe if the people that run this deal can be successful and keep having it, maybe word will spread and they'll get more participation from dealers and people showing up. But so anyway, they'll have another one in August, and you know, it's $5 to get in, so I figure I'll probably go take a look and see, and hopefully it's not just the same people with the same stuff as there was today, but we will see. So I didn't end up getting any Beatles related stuff. Unfortunately, I was hoping. I had just seen me and Mr. Mayo did a review of a Cloud 9 George Harrison album yesterday, and it made me realize that I've never owned a copy of that album. I remember getting the When We Was Fab 45 back in '87, and for some reason or other, I just never picked the album up, so I've never heard anything off of it except for Got My Mind Set on You and When We Was Fab. And he really liked the album, and him doing the review made me think, that's one I need to fill in my collection. Maybe I can run across a copy of that. But it was not to be, unfortunately. One thing I was kind of hoping to find and wasn't expecting to find, but I did find, so it was a nice surprise. The latest stuff is from 2012, the last so far Beach Boys album, and most likely the last one ever as far as new material. This was they did a tour to celebrate their 50th anniversary, and they did a new album, and this has Brian and Mike and of course Dennis and Carl are not on here, but it has all the original members that are still around, and so yeah, and I wanted that, and this was like $9, so not a bad deal. I had been meaning to get this off of Amazon, and I don't think it's on there anymore, so I'm not sure if this was just a limited edition thing and it's kind of going to be hard to find, or maybe it's not, but it was good to have that since I'm doing my Beach Boy albums reviews in order, and I've got a whole lot to go through before I get to this one, but it's good to have it. Only thing I've heard from this, and I haven't opened it yet, haven't played it yet, I've heard the title track, which I kind of like. I haven't heard any of the other songs on it though, so the title track's pretty nice. It's not great, but it's nice. The rest of this stuff might be terrible, might be okay. I'll find out. So yeah, I was happy to run across that. The other thing I bought, and this is the only album I own by this guy, so I went ahead and got a copy of Black Star, the David Bowie album. And so yeah, which I've heard some of this, and I like him. I just had never bought anything by him, and his albums are pretty hard to find now since he's passed away, and pretty expensive when you find them. But I saw this, and so I thought I'd go ahead and pick it up. It's the black vinyl. I think the clear vinyl ones are worth a pretty penny now. But I also got another. This is the first Mobile Fidelity record that I ever bought, surprisingly enough, and that's Imperial Bedroom by Elvis Costello. I haven't opened it yet either. Remember this album from back in the 80s, really good one. So looking forward to hearing that. And last but not least, and I've been wanting this for a long time because it's been years since I've had it, and it's good to get a copy of it again. I was wanting to get the remastered edition, but I went ahead and got this, which is kind of probably a dodgy bootleg. So there's no gatefold. It's just and it's there's the back of it. But it's kind of nice to have this, and it's on red vinyl, and it was $12, which is okay for something like this. Glad to have this again because this would probably be my second favorite album by them. Piper would be my first, but I always liked that one. So that's all I got, but it was fun. I might go to this Dallas one here coming up in April because this sounds like there'd be a lot more stuff for sale at that, and maybe that one's been around for a while and I just wasn't aware of it. But yeah, all in all, I guess it was a pretty fun day, and I got some records that looked to be pretty good, and so yeah, hope everybody has a good weekend, and I'll be back with more Beach Boy reviews and other things, and I still have a couple of Beatle albums in that rank the songs on the Beatle album series. Still got Abbey Road and Let It Be. So I'll get to that one of these days, and take care.